Oh yeah. Go get that insurance on the Chariot. Make sure you get you a real nice one where you can barely afford it. Go to all the wild parties and have a good time. You're your own man now. Tough love. I would be willing to say that most of the things that I hold deepest into how to handle situations in life came from tough love. Y'all know what I'm talking about? Tough love. I want to close with just a few things. There's a problem sometimes, and I don't want anybody to misunderstand this for not helping people. But sometimes there's a problem with misguided sympathy. When you let a person feel sorry for themselves and wallow in their pity. Where they do something wrong and you keep telling them, it's going to be all right. You know, that happens, and, you know, just, I'm not, you know, going to say anything to you about it. Just try to do better. Sometimes there has to come a point, especially as parents, where we have to put our foot down and we have to say, I cannot sympathize with you in this situation. I'm sorry you're going through it, but you're going to have to do better. You're going to have to do better. You see, the daddy didn't, this is what is so wonderful about the story. It said the father sat there every day waiting and watching for his son. But it doesn't say that he got up every day and went out trying to find his son. You see, because he realized if he went back and found him and brought him back, the son would have never figured out anything on his own. The son had to get to a point where he said, you know what, I messed up. I will arise and go to my father and tell them that I have sinned against heaven and against him. The father let him make his mistake, and he didn't go out and get him out of a situation. So many times I see people that get in a situation over and over and over, and I will talk with the parents, and they will say, well, you know, things just don't work out. Things just don't work out. Things just don't work out. And you see this a lot with parents that are dealing with a child maybe that has a drug problem, who keeps getting in trouble. There comes a point, and yes, I understand it's easy to sit here and say it when I'm not experiencing it. So do not think that I am naive, because I know it's a lot easier to preach it when you're not experiencing it. But there does come a point where you have to say, you know what? I'm sorry, but I can't give you any more money. If I know that you're going out and you're buying drugs, I cannot give you any more money. When you tell me, well, I went and did this and now I don't have money to pay my bill, I can't give you any more money because I know what you're doing and you're destroying yourself, and you've gotten out of touch with reality, and you're living in this world where you think that everything revolves around pleasure and having a good time, but it doesn't. Sometimes you have to be tough with the people you love and let them know, I love you, but no longer can I support the way that you're living, especially if it's destroying them. So many times we will let a person, especially a young person, destroy their lives because we don't want to step in and be the parent. We want to be the friend. I'm going to tell you what. My mother, my father, my grandmother, my grandfather, and everybody else in my family, they were never my friend. They loved me. They watched after me. They protected me. They guided me. They advised me. But I never looked at them as a friend, because a friend will just hang out with you and do whatever you do. They'll get in trouble with you. My family didn't do that. I didn't have any friends in the family. They were parents. And yes, they made mistakes, but they showed me tough love because they knew it was best for me. A lot of times when you don't show tough love, a person will dig a hole deeper and deeper. Have you ever got yourself in a situation and the more you tried to get out, the deeper you got? You ever been in one of those situations where you kept trying to get out, and it's like being in a hole and you dig in, and before you know it, the hole's getting deeper, and you're like, man, I've been sitting here working, and I'm working real hard, and the hole's deeper, and I'm in a worse situation I was when I began. It works like that in life. You keep digging until you get so deep, it's almost impossible to get out. And we have a lot of young people in this world that nobody is concerned with what they're doing, but we realize that they're in a hole this deep and we could do something about it, but when they're in a hole this deep, it becomes a lot harder. Sometimes tough love keeps a person from getting deeper into a hole. And last but not least, I want to make this one last comment because I think this is very important. Sometimes by sympathizing, it's almost like we're teaching a learned helplessness where the person looks at us and realizes, okay, that person is almost like my dealer. That person is almost like a pusher, the one who is always getting me out of trouble, because what they're doing is they're giving me all of this rope. They're giving me all this leeway, and I'm using it to destroy my life. There's a very interesting thing that you will find out if you will get into the Bible and you will read it. Jesus came in touch with a lot of people. He came in touch with crippled people, blind people, dead people. And do you know what is very interesting? He always made them take an action in the process of him making them better. Never did he come and say, all right, I'm healing you, you're better, and move on. The crippled man, you know what he said to one crippled man one time? He got up to him, he met him, and he told him, he said, take up your mat and walk. He said, you were healed, take up your mat and go. Can you imagine if you're crippled your whole entire life and somebody comes up to you and says, okay, get up and leave, walk away, and you're thinking to yourself, I can't walk. If Jesus would have said, man, you're right, listen, I'm sorry, stay right there and I'll get somebody to bring you the stuff that you need. What gets accomplished? Nothing. Sometimes you have to get up and you may have to take a step, and it might be the craziest thing that you could imagine. The blind man, he ended up getting he spit into some dirt and made mud and wiped it on his eyes, and he said, now go wash it off and you will see. The man could have said, but I'm blind. It doesn't matter if I wash this stuff off, I'm not going to see. And Jesus could have said, you know what, you're right. Don't wash it off. Let me wipe it off, and we'll get somebody. I'll go down to the pound and I'll get one of them Jerusalem German Shepherds to walk you around and guide you. No, he gave him an action to do. And even with dead people, he would tell them, arise. He wouldn't just go touch them, heal them, and they just come up out of the dead. No, he would actually make a command, and they would either have to arise, sit up, come forth. They all had an action. You cannot find a miracle in the Bible that Jesus healed somebody that did not make them participate in part of the healing. There will never be a situation where things will get better if a person is not willing to take responsibility and action for themselves. And sometimes it's a tough thing. Sometimes that first step is just a hard thing to do. And I'm probably sure that the prodigal son, it wasn't easy for him to say, oh, I've got to go back home. My brother's going to laugh at me. My father's going to say, I told you so. And boy, it's going to be awful. But he said, you know what? I've got to do it. I've got to get up, and I've got to go, and I've got to do, and I've got to make things right, and I've got to accept responsibilities. That is a message that we cannot forget about the prodigal son. He did get to a point where he finally accepted responsibility and took action. But it was because the father showed him some tough love and let him have just enough to realize the people in the life that love you are not trying to hurt you. They're not trying to take away your fun. They're trying to guide you into manhood or womanhood to give you a better life. Young people, please, when your parents get on to you And I have firsthand knowledge that some of y'all have gotten in a little bit of trouble lately with some things you shouldn't have done, because your parents do tell me about things, not things that I didn't do when I was y'all's age. I did some of the same things. When they get on to you for not doing this and not doing that, they're not trying to ruin your life. They're not trying to make things not as fun for you. They're just wanting you to have a healthy life, and they're wanting you to make decisions that are best for you. So don't look at them as trying to hurt you. Don't look at them as not caring. They're just showing a little bit of tough love. This evening we will end with Amazing Grace. This altar is open. It's always open. Morning, day, afternoon, night, when the church is open. When it's not open, the altar is open. But tonight, it is open for anyone who would like to come to the altar to say, you know what? I haven't accepted responsibility for certain things in my life, and I'm ready to take that step. And I'm telling you, this isn't just for young people. I know some older people in this world that still have not grown up. Do you know any old people that haven't grown up? That are still acting like they were a teenager and not accepting responsibility and not caring about who they hurt? It can affect anybody of any age. But this altar is a place to say, today I will experience a change, and I will start to take responsibility and action. And if I have somebody in my family that's not living like they should, or somebody I care about, I may have to show them some tough love. And if that's the case, let the Lord give you strength to show them that love. Don't let these young people travel this road alone. If you would, please stand as we sing.